Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast, where faith and fishing hook up. Hey, if you haven't ever subscribed to our channel on YouTube, or if you haven't given us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast where you get your podcast, where you listen to, please do that. Just hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell indicator, and let you know when a new podcast drops. And we have one come out every single week. A lot of awesome things happening here at the Bass Chaplain Fishing Studio, America's slowest growing podcast, but we are growing, and we're very, very excited about that. Our boat giveaway is going to be December the 17th. Now, if you're not familiar with that, we earn most of the funding to keep me doing the ministry that I do by giving away a bass boat. It'll be the 5th bass boat that we've given away. This year's boat is a Nitro Z18 with a 150 Mercury, a Lowrance Ghost trolling motor, 2 Lowrance depth finders, and 2 power poles. It is a slick boat, and you can possibly win that boat, but we'll guarantee that you'll be supporting a great ministry. You can go to chriswells.org and get you a ticket, and hopefully on December 17th, I will be rolling up in your driveway with that brand new bass boat, and you'll be able to do some serious fishing. Now, speaking of serious fishing, I have as my guest today, Captain Blake Smith is going to be on from Florida. Let me tell you, this dude has got an awesome fishing professional career, but he's also got an awesome ministry. He runs all the Meet the Pros events. Used to do it for Major League Fishing. He's going to be doing it for the Bassmaster Opens this year. And I got to tell you, I don't normally pull for people, but I am pulling for Blake Smith to get on the Bassmaster Elite Series because I need him there. And he is such a great inspiration to me, and he will be a great inspiration to you. So stay tuned on the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast. Captain Blake Smith is up next. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bass Chaplain Fishing Podcast, where faith and fishing hook up. I have as my guest tonight, my captain, Blake Smith. We are so glad you're here, man.
Man, I'm glad to be here. I know we've been talking about it a lot, and it's exciting to finally get to be on the show, man. This is it makes me feel like I'm moving up in the world a little bit.
You are, man. You're on America's slowest growing podcast. It is I mean, there are tens and tens of people that are going to be watching this, and it's going to be great, man. I tell you, I'm excited. I'm excited that you're here. So you look like you're down. You're not in sunny Florida tonight, but it looks like you're in Florida tonight.
I am. I'm actually I'm in my hometown of Lakeland, Florida. So there's actually 2 professional bass fishermen that live in Lakeland, Florida, myself and Bobby Lane. We're both from the same
Big Fish Bobby Lane. Yeah.
That's right.
Man, I tell you what, I was just talking with someone about 30 minutes ago about moving to Florida, and that is one of my goals in life, is to be a Floridian. I want to at least be a Floridian half the year. You know, I'd like that. I really would.
Well, we've got a pretty good gig down here. Got a lot of great people, an amazing governor, and it's a good place to be from, no doubt.
That is. Well, man, let me tell you, let's get this out of the way right off the bat. You are the father of 5, count them, 5 girls. So
that's
there's
right.
6 girls you're dealing with at any one point in your life all the time. Tell us about that, man. 6 girls. Wow.
It's better to say it's 6 girls that have to deal with me all the time. I live in a sea of estrogen. And that's why I think I have to be a professional bass fisherman, because I have to go hyper masculine in order just to survive. We don't, even the animals on our farm are all females. There was one, I think a male goldfish at one point, and he didn't make it.
Couldn't take it.
It is not the element, but you know what? I'm telling you, like, God knew what I needed. There's nothing like having girls. And when you come home from a bad tournament or just a bad day period of dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with, and you've got one rubbing your feet, one rubbing your head, one's trying to comb your eyebrows. I mean, there's nothing like having girls. And it was easy to realize real quick, even after like the second one, that I was meant to be a girl dad. And I'm blessed beyond all comprehension. My quiver is full. I'm not saying that we're done
Yeah.
having kids, and so I can't say I'll be all girl dad forever, but as of right now, it was definitely God's plan for my life to have all girls, no doubt.
Man, that is awesome. Now, how many? So, what kind of animals do you have out there? What do you?
Man, we've got well, we're building on a lake down here in Florida. We're building a barn dominium, and but we have 2 goats, both females. We have 42 chickens,
42.
and 42 because one thing I have learned is you need to be able to rely on what you can provide, especially in not just this industry, but the world we live in. And so we try and be self sufficient. And so we have 42 chickens, but 1 male chicken out of all of them. And the whole goal is just to continue to provide from the land as much as we can. And so we're blessed. So a lot of that, there's a bunch of rabbits out here. And we don't have any dogs or cats or anything like that, but lots of fish in our lake and alligators and stuff like that. So, but we're blessed. We got a lot of animals.
So if things go down, you can provide. You can keep going. I like that. I love that. I'm gonna have to make my way down towards you. I need friends that are self-sufficient more than they
that's
are.
right.
So
Amen.
yeah.
Amen.
So you're Captain Blake Smith. Now everybody says that whenever they say, I don't ever hear anybody say, "Hey, Blake Smith's over there." It's always Captain Blake Smith. So, but your dad was a captain too, wasn't he?
He was. He was. My dad was a fishing captain a long time before. Actually, I think even before I was born, my dad was a charter captain, and he did saltwater. But actually, when I came about, my dad did exclusively fly fishing charters. Like that's all he did is fly fishing. So I grew up, I didn't touch a conventional rod and reel really until I was about 11, 12 years old. I only fly fished. And, my parents got divorced when I was fairly young. My dad moved over to guide on the East Coast of Florida, and my mom remarried a guide on the West Coast of Florida. So it was kind of brought up into my blood that that's what you were supposed to do. And if you were good at it, then that's how you could make a living. So, even when Megan and I got married, I did a lot of guiding, saltwater guiding, and then bass guiding. But I got away from that probably 3 years ago, as I started doing more fishing, bass fishing exclusively. I stopped doing any saltwater charters and things like that just because I could be more selective on what I took. And so now I don't really even do a whole lot of bass guiding except when I have to or when sponsors ask me to. But it definitely is it was an exclusive part of my upbringing was being in and on and around the water. And then also the older I got, I got my start in saltwater professionally fishing, in the IFA Lucas Oil Pro-Ams. And that was kind of the beginning of my career and being able to, it jump started me to the FLW tour as well. And that's kind of, I guess, where it stuck is, at first for 2014, 15, 16, I was the only professional bass fisherman in the industry that was fishing both freshwater and saltwater. So they, I guess it just stuck. Yeah, it kind of stuck. Smith and
Captain Blake Smith. That's right. And that's not an easy thing to do. I mean,
no,
I've checked into being a captain before, and let me tell you, that's a pretty big deal. That's a course of study, and there's a lot more to it than just popping captain up in front of your name, isn't it? That's
right.
Wild.
Well, a lot of people when they see captain, they automatically think I was like a captain in the military, almost salute you and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's not it. But I can marry somebody on a cruise ship. So, whatever you want to do, it is what it is. So
that's great, man. That's fantastic.
But no, it was a pretty cool gig there for a while.
Well, you kind of share with us a little bit about your fishing journey, but tell us how you got to the pro, being a pro fisherman, and we're going to get into all of your faith things and all the things you do, but tell us about the fishing journey. How did becoming a professional fisherman happen for you?
Let me tell you, it was a God thing. And I can truly say it was a God thing because it was such a remarkable series of events that I could have never imagined in my entire lifetime, how it would work out. And I'll tell you the way it started was I was fishing local bass tournaments and fishing saltwater stuff, fishing the redfish tour, and it was going really well. I enjoyed it, but I knew there was something I wanted more. I was also at the time selling insurance and doing asset conservation, working and trying to protect people's assets and things. And this was a long time ago, but I'll never forget the IFA Lucas Oil Pro-Ams came about, and they were like the Schwang of saltwater fishing. Like all the guys on it, they were, I don't know. I mean, I idolized a lot of them. Unfortunately, probably a wrong way to say that, but I respected a lot of those guys. They were the only true saltwater professionals in the industry, catching redfish all across the southeast of the United States.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. They called me one time, and there was a pro that one of the pros. There's only 25 guys, I think. It might 25 or 50. I really don't remember exactly how many guys were on it, but in the pro, but only so many people fished in it, and you had to basically. It had to be a miracle for you to even get in to that group of guys. I mean, it was kind of like the BPT. I'm not saying it out loud, but it was probably like that, So, it really was one of those things I wanted to be in so bad. I was praying about it. I'm like, Lord, just opens the doors. In the meantime, I had my heart surgery, and we'll probably talk about that later.
Yeah.
But I had my heart surgery, and I was like, God, just please find a way for me to use it. I don't know how you want to use it, but use it. We don't pray for testimony, but when God gives you one, you want to make sure that you utilize it.
Yeah.
And I heard a pastor yesterday, and I think I was listening to. He's like, I pray for all my kids to have just a normal, boring testimony. Like I don't ever want one of my kids to have a great testimony. I want it to be boring. Like got saved young, never sinned. And I'm here today, but that wasn't the case. I had a lot of life in between. But I tell you, so one day they called me and they said, hey, we've got one of the pros. His mom's about to die, and she's not going to make it, and he's not going to be able to make it. Well, 2 days before the event, they called me back and they said, hey, his mom's dying wish was that he fishes that event. And I'm like,
right.
You got it. So needless to say, that was if girls pop in here, you'll understand why.
Yeah, we're good. We're good with girls.
But I remember sitting there that day, the day of the captain's meeting, the day before the event. The guys had been practicing there all week. And I made it home from selling insurance that day. And I remember laying on the bed. Megan's like, I know you're upset, and it's going to be okay. God's got a plan. And I literally was laying there on the bed, like just sulking in it. And my phone rings, and it was a lady named Miss Lee Causey. And Miss Lee, it was the tournament director for the IFA Lucas Oil Pro-Ams. And she said, Blake, how far are you from Punta Gorda, Florida? And I'm like, I don't know. Why do I need to be in Punta Gorda, Florida? She said, well, Billy Nicholas, he's one of the pros from Texas. He's a big name in the industry. Like most people, if you've ever fished saltwater, know Billy Nicholas. And Billy Nicholas said, they said there's a freak hurricane about to hit his house in Texas, and we need somebody to take his place. He's already paid for your entry fee. If you can be here in an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 2.5 hours from Punta Gorda. I made it in an hour and 45 minutes because Megan heard the call. We only had one kid at the time, and was throwing everybody's clothes together, and we made it down there just in the nick of time. I made it to the captain's meeting, didn't pre-fish or anything, and the co that I was assigned for that day, for the first day, awesome kid. His name was Jeff, and just a sweet kid, but he was from there. And I told him, he said, where are we going to fish tomorrow? I said, I have no idea. I said, I literally didn't get to practice. I made it here minutes before.
Yeah.
And we picked an area on the map, went fishing. At the end of day one, I was in second place in the pro-ams.
Wow.
And it was such a God thing, because on day two, NBC Sports was on my boat with me, and I got to share my testimony on NBC Sports in front of hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And after that tournament, I finished, I think, in the top 6 of my very first pro tournament that I ever fished. And IFA that was the last tournament of that season. The next year they called me and they said, hey, you finished in the top 10 of that last event. Would you be interested in coming back? And I fished. The next season was my next year, or my first full year on the Pro-Ams, and I finished second for Angler of the Year.
Wow.
And then I'll never forget it, that last tournament of the year, we were in Chalmette, Louisiana, And the one of the head guys from Ranger Boats comes up to me and he says, "Hey, what would it take to put you in a Ranger boat?" And I just jokingly, I remember saying, "Oh, you'd have to," just joking, right? Because I mean, I'm Polk County in, right? There's not a whole lot of money there. In 3 months, I had a brand new Ranger 520C entry driveway.
Man.
And it was such an amazing event because I went back the next year, and then they called me from Ranger that year and they said, "Hey, we've got a business proposition for you. We know you fish a lot of bass tournaments. We know that you're killing on the saltwater side. Would you be interested in going to essentially the highest level of bass fishing, one of the highest levels of bass fishing, next year on the FLW tour?" And he said, "We need a guy that can fish both, that we can market the freshwater and saltwater aspects of the 520C Intracoastal." And so we said yes. We said yes, first of all. However, we don't do anything until we've prayed about it.
Right. Yeah.
And here's where it gets freaky. Okay. This is going to blow your mind. And this is probably the very first podcast of this story in the world, honestly. But I'll never forget, Megan and I were praying diligently, and just praying for intercession and praying for God to show us what he wanted us to do. And we get a call from the secretary of the pastor of the church that I went to as a kid. Didn't know what I was doing, had no idea what was going on in life, didn't anything. But I remember this Miss Virginia calls me and says, "Hey, listen, Jay needs you to come to the office this week." And I'm like, "Why?" And she goes, "I can't tell you why, but he needs to book an appointment with you and Megan." And I'm like, okay. We went and met with him, and he says, "Listen, for the past few weeks," he said, "I have been interceding for you." He said, "God put you on my heart. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. I haven't seen you in years. I haven't talked to you in years." And he says, "But I don't know what it is that God has planned for you. But he's told me that you're supposed to do it and you're supposed to say yes."
Wow. Yeah.
And we were like, "Okay, well, yes, God, if that's what you want us to do." But here's the other part. My first year as a rookie on the FLW tour, the entry fees were $26,400.
Yeah.
Deposit was $6,000 for that year.
Yeah.
And I remember praying like, "Lord, okay, you've given us a yes," because obviously you're having him, you're revealing it to him who's really close to God, and showing us that we need to do this. But what do we do? And man, I'll never forget the week before the deposit was due for the FLW tour. I got a random check in the mail from that pastor who didn't know how much we had to pay, but he was so moved by God to do, we had to do what we had to do, that he wrote us a check for $5,000. He said, "I don't even know if you need $5,000, but it was the exact amount for our deposit for the FLW tour." And then we got from Fellowship of Christian Athletes, who heard my story and what was kind of happening, and let us raise the rest of the money for our season, my rookie year, through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Wow.
And that was kind of the beginning of it. And, God took it to a whole new level. He took a love for fishing and a heart problem that was just unreal and uncommon for somebody my age at the time, and use it for his glory in a mighty way. And because of it, we've been able to share that story all over the country. And man, what a cool way to get to go from selling insurance in Lakeland, Florida, to get to be on the national stage and sharing the gospel in the highest level of bass fishing. It's been pretty awesome.
Man, what a story that is. Now tell us about your faith. Let's talk about your faith and work in your heart condition in it. I want people to know about that. How did you come to faith? And and tell us about the heart surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born to Christian parents. I was born to Christian grandparents, and for all extents and purposes, I got mosquitoes all over me. The mosquitoes are like literally born into a Christian family, gave my life to the Lord at 6 years old. The normal run of the mill American testimony, However, there was years there in my 20s that I ran from God. I actually went to school. I was in school to be a pastor, and I worked in a church as the youth intern. And my last day of my youth intern, I don't think I went back to church for a whole year. I just ran. I mean, I was so hurt by the church, hurt by the people in the church,
Yeah.
and proceeded to have years of testimony building. And I say building to be as um, polite as I can, whatever it could be. It was nothing new under the sun, I think, as Solomon said, but experienced way too much, and lived a life that did not gratify or glorify God in any form or fashion. And I remember when, I kind of got back on track, but not fully involved. For me, I was in insurance at the time. And I remember hitting a level where I thought, I'm making $200,000 a year. I'm making all this for myself. God has nothing to do with it. This is Blake's way of life, right? This is Blake that made this happen. It's Blake that's buying the nice trucks and boats and going on fancy trips and doing whatever I want to do. And it really, I'd hit a point in my life where it was, God made it very clear, like, hey, something's got to change. This is not, but I called for you. You were supposed to be a pastor. You were supposed to be an evangelist. Like, I mean, I had served overseas before this. I had served overseas in Africa, Brazil, Romania, Germany, Canada. I mean, I'd served as a child evangelist missionary in First Baptist Convention in a lot of different places throughout college, and seen hundreds and hundreds of people give their life to the Lord, and then I just ran the other way. Like, it was like I was done with it. And I'll never forget, Meg and I got married. We were going to church regularly, and but still not 100% sold out. I was going to church on Sunday, going to church on Wednesday, and just living a normal life. And I'll never forget, I was driving down the road, and I had some heart issues. Like, I was starting to feel some heart palpitations, and I was playing sports, playing ice hockey, playing softball on Wednesday nights. Like, I was playing every sport that I could, and started feeling real weird. So I went and had some testing done, and when I went and got I never got the results, but they called me, and I was driving down the road, and I get a call from Dr. Kevin Brown. He's retired now, one of the best cardio physiologists, electrophysiologists for the heart in North America. Calls me and hey, listen, Blake, I'm sitting here with a team of 10 doctors, and not one of us knows how you're still alive. You have a disease called left ventricular hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And essentially you have what the street name of it is sudden death syndrome. And I remember being so just taken back and so in awe and so just freaked out because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know where to go from there. And I remember Megan was on the line. We were both crying, like, what does that mean? He's like, you need to come in tomorrow, go home, get some rest, come to the hospital tomorrow, and we're gonna just try and keep you alive. Like, that's the game plan. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. And I remember going home. Megan lit a bunch of like lavender candles and everything to just try and help me like stay calm and relaxed and make it to the following. We went in there to Lakeland Regional in Lakeland, Florida, and I remember Kevin Brown came in and met with us right before the surgery. And he's like, hey, listen, I don't usually come and meet with my people before I do the surgery. I usually wait till after. He said, but I have to talk to you because your heart is like 4 times the size that it should be. And he said, when I stop your heart to hook the electrodes into your heart, he goes, there's about a 50% chance that I'm not going to be able to restart it.
Wow.
I'm like, well, then don't do it. Don't start it. Yeah. Don't do the surgery. And he said, Blake, if I don't, then you're only giving about a 30% chance you'll make it another week because your heart's too big. And, he said, until this will buy us some time until we can figure out what we need to do, whether it's, a myectomy or a, some type of ablation or just put you on a transplant list or whatever it might be. And I remember laying there, and after Dr. Brown walked out, and we were all crying, this is it. Like, this could really be it. Megan, we had Aniston at the time, and he was, she was a year old, and Megan was very, very pregnant with Emerson at the time. And I remember there's a picture on the internet of me kissing Annie, and I don't know where it's at, but of me kissing Annie because I thought this could be the last time I get to kiss my daughter.
Yeah.
And kissing Megan. And then I remember once I left Megan, I just started praying. And I think the scary part about it is everything became the most real that it could come.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every Bible story on a Sunday or Wednesday, everything a Sunday school teacher told me, everything I remember from a pastor's sermon, it all became real. And the reason being is because when they stopped my heart, there was a great possibility that they wouldn't be able to restart it, and I would be face to face with Jesus and being
Mhm.
held accountable for everything I'd ever done.
Right. Yeah.
There's no better wake up call in the
Mm.
world than finding out that there's a great possibility you could be face to face with your creator. And I mean, tell you, Christy, I mean, everything was the most real it's ever been. And it was at that point I knew God was pulling at my heart for years before that it was time for me to get a grasp on what it was that He was trying to show me, and that He had a plan for me. As He says, I have a plan for you. But that plan also comes with you seeking Him with all your heart.
Yeah.
And it was at that point I realized I needed to seek Him with all my heart, and I needed to be 100% sold out. And that whatever that meant, if that meant that I had to leave a job that I was making way too much money and get sold out to go full-time ministry and trying
Right.
to, try people to Christ. And that's what we had to do. And we did. I walked away obviously I woke back up, and they were able to restart my heart. But I remember the following week, I walked away from a $200,000 a year job and followed Jesus.
Wow.
And I don't think I've made more than about $40,000 a year since then. So, but since then, we've also seen close to 1,000 people, through our testimonies and
Yeah.
through leaders like Glenn Chapelier, then yourself,
Yeah.
and doing tour minutes. We've been able to see people come to Christ by the truckloads, and man, it's been the most unreal experience and whirlwind. And it's crazy. It's been 10 years since that
Yeah.
day happened. And
Wow.
the reason I know that is because I say, well, it's been 9 years and like 5 months, because I have 7 months left on my battery with my defibrillator built into
Yeah.
my chest right.
Yeah.
And so we'll at the beginning of the year next year, we will. Oh, I lost you. Beginning of the year next year, I'll
Yeah.
go back under again and get my defibrillator replaced, and then
Yeah.
they'll what's going on.
Man, that really hits close to me because I'm probably heading that way as well. I've had the heart ablation and stuff like that. But man, what a testimony. And listen, what people don't know, and I said this, before you got on, I do my little introduction. I said, I'm not supposed to pull for people to get on the Elite Series and stuff. I said, but I'm pulling. That's it, right? This guy is my guest today. I've never been pulling or praying for somebody so hard. I said, because I said, the Meet the Pros, you do a Meet the Pros at every event that you go to. Tell us a little bit about Meet the Pros and all that God's doing through that, man.
Well, let me tell you. So it's changing next year. I hope the Meet the Pros continues on at the Major League Fishing level, but I announced a week ago that I am leaving Major League Fishing, and I am going 100% all in at Bassmasters and going to do all 9 opens. And for the first time in the history of the opens, there is going to be a guaranteed church on Wednesdays and Sundays. Folk church on Sunday mornings, fishing church on before practice starts, and then also we are going to be hosting a Meet the Pros like event, and I'm pretty sure it's called the Bassmasters Legacy Nights, that will be hosting the weekend before every single one of the Bassmaster Opens in 2023. And cool. I wish I could tell you some of the names that are going to be on that roster. And I got a call today from one of the biggest names in bass fishing who is going to be on that lineup. And I respect so many people in the industry. Listen, before a fisherman, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I love it. I breathe it. I've been in it for a long time, but I've watched it and been a part of it for way longer than that. And I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a fishing format with the opportunity to get to hear the hearts and minds and lives behind the scenes of some of these guys who people watch on TV on the weekends. So stay tuned for that. You're going to see a lot more about it. We've got Yamamoto Baits is going to be a presenting sponsor of each one of those events. Wow. And it's so cool when people like Yamamoto or GSM and Yamaha and all these companies are so big, and Skeeter are so awesome at supporting the ministry and the cause of Christ, what we're trying to.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. Wow. So let me ask you this question. We're gonna share with the people that there's rumors of a book that's coming out. Is that
Really? This is the first time we're going to talk about it. So yes, please do.
the rumors are, well, there's rumors that there's going to be a bass fishing devotional, and we don't know what that's going to be called, but it's going to be three authors in that, and
That, that's
two
right.
of them are on the podcast today.
That's
We'll be we've written a devotional book, and along
yeah.
with James Niggemeyer, who's sitting in 10th place, tied for 10th place on the Red River
What?
right now. Yeah.
Oh,
And
praise
so
God.
and so
Awesome.
he so we're we got a devotion book coming out, and ladies and gentlemen, if you have a idea about what we should call the book, that would be
Yes.
we're still
Please
working
write
on
it
that.
on this
So,
blog.
yeah, please do. So
We need a good name for it.
yeah.
I'm excited about the content. I'm excited. The whole idea of it is obviously to give fishermen or outdoorsmen the ability to get involved in the Word of God. Like, I don't think it's going to necessarily change somebody's entire daily walk. I hope it does. But what I hope from it is that it'll establish a want and a desire to grow closer to God and to be able to grow your walk on a daily basis, and give you something really encouraging to read. So I'm excited about it, Chris. I know you are. I know James
Man, I
is.
am. Yeah.
And it's awesome. And I think because of it, we're gonna try and book as many speaking things next year as we can to get that out there, and
Amen to
to
that. Yeah.
churches and men's groups and men's ministries and things like that. We would love to see all men, not just outdoorsmen, but all men take a part and get to be a part of that devotional. So it's going to be really cool.
Man, that is cool. And I'm excited just to be a part. I'm honored to be a part of it, and really looking forward to that. It's going to be really cool. And man, you don't have a bigger fan to get you on the Elite Series. I'm ready for you to, to get up there, because we need you. We need you over there. You're so good at mobilizing those guys. And that's my big downfall is I can't ever get them to do anything. I'm like, yeah, come on, Aaron, come on, we gotta go.
I gotta
so,
borrow to get them to do stuff. But listen, I
yeah.
tell them, like, here's what I have found today. One of the biggest names in bass fishing called me and said, Blake, listen, let's try and win as many people to Jesus as we can next year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And dude, you don't want to get me fired up.
Yeah.
As much as that. And I had another one of the guys that's on the staff call me today, and it's like you could feel just the Holy Spirit moving.
That's awesome.
And man, honestly, I stay fired up for Jesus, because I know he can do great things, and he's going to next year. And if God's plan is for me to be on the elites, that's great. Plans on me being on the opens for the rest of my career, as long as we get to lead people to Christ, then I'm okay with it. And
man, that is awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what God's going to do there. And I know I'm praying in line with the Elite Series. I'm praying for that to happen and stuff. So listen, so about every podcast, what I do is I have my pro on there imitate another bass pro. I didn't prep you with this, so because I like to shock people. So if you got an imitation of another pro that you can do, we've had tons of people have done, not tons, but we've had people do Tommy Biffle, Gerald Swindle. We've had I think Hank Parker did Roland Martin. So we got a bunch of them. So who you got?
Let me see. I've got one for you.
All right, let's hear it.
One of my good buddies, and I'm pretty sure he used me as an illustration at one point, but I would have to say Nick LeBrun.
Nick LeBrun, former podcaster on the Bass Japan Fishing Podcast, Nick LeBrun.
And here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Can I ask you a question? How do you get to heaven? And they'll answer, oh, I don't know. No, let me tell you how. That's Jesus. That's the only way to get to heaven is Jesus. There's my Nick LeBrun.
Nick LeBrun, that was a good Nick LeBrun. He does that, man. That's what he does. That's his witnessing technique.
That's right. That is Nick's way of the master, I think, technique at getting to people and really. So if you're ever at a gas station at 3:30 in the morning and you hear a man on the other side to go, hey, you think there's going to be gas pumps in heaven?
I think you'll be there to find out.
I don't know why. I think there will be, but how do I get to find those gas pumps?
Yeah, that's him.
That's That's
That's
Nick
him.
LeBrew. So
Man,
love him
that's
to
him.
death. He's an awesome dude.
Man,
And
he's on fire this year. I tell you, he really is. He's on fire in a lot of different ways. So, hey, Blake, let me ask you: if people want to get in touch with you and they want to book you for an event, a speaking engagement, or whatever, how do they get in touch with you?
man, honestly, the best way is through social media. They can go to Pro Blake Smith at anything, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I have one of them TikTok things, but I don't get on there. That's not really me that runs it, just so you know that.
Right.
But if you want to actually get a hold of me, you're going to do that through one of the other forms of contact, which is Pro Blake Smith at Facebook or at Instagram, or you can just send me an email to awesomefishingradio@hotmail.com, or just get a hold of Chris, and Chris will give you my cell phone number. So it'll be.
That'll be great, man. I appreciate you being on with me today. What an awesome testimony. I'm looking for great things, and I can't wait for next year. It's going to be awesome. It really is. Good deal.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah, brother. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this week. This is the podcast where faith and fishing hook up. Hope to see you next week, and we will catch you later. Thanks, Blake. See you later, man.
See y'all.